This is Mr. Beast, and recently his co-star came out as transgender. Now in case you don't know what a Mr. Beast is, firstly, congratulations on being old, and secondly, he is the most popular YouTuber in the world. There are only 3 channels larger than his at all, and they were all started by significant companies. He started as one guy, but he's a bit of a genius, and he figured out how the algorithm worked, and his channel blew up. He's very intelligent when it comes to this stuff. I've listened to a lot of his ideas, I've tried to apply them to this channel, and I'm proud to say 2 months after launching, things are going averagely, gonna be honest.
Acceptable!
But the basic premise of his channel is highly clickable, highly entertaining content for kids and for teenagers.
I am going to spend the next 50 hours alone in solitary confinement. The last one of you to leave this island keeps it!
And so I would personally say that his channel is a positive thing. But recently he's been thrown a significant challenge because he hosts this show with a group of his friends and they run around organising and partaking in these big challenges. But now what's happened is one of the lads has now decided that he is no longer a lad, he is a laddie, a lady. And he has changed his name from the male name Chris to the female name Chris. He has one of those unisex names.
My name is Jamie.
And people have been noticing the change for a while, but he has now come out and said he is on hormone replacement therapy and he is transgender. Now there's a lot we could get into about this. I don't want to get into Twitter back and forths. I don't want this to be a current affairs channel. I want to be more big principles, big ideas. But this is worth addressing, not only because it's going to impact the hundreds of millions of people who watch his channels, but in this issue we are seeing the outworking of one of the biggest lies of our day. Namely the lie of authenticity. When I was looking into this, I went to Chris's Twitter and looked back in time to see how these things had developed. And you can really see the change. You can see how it mostly goes from fun content with the odd little bit of left-wing ideology, which is normal for someone of that age, to extreme left-wing activism and identity politics. But what's really interesting is right as people were starting to notice the physical changes that he was making, he tweeted 2 things with the same idea. One said this: "I'm glad I can drop the mask more and more and feel comfortable enough to share things with you guys." And another one said, "It's never too late to start being yourself." And this is where we see that this lie has come in. Because what he's saying is, by embracing this ideology, by embracing this identity, I am becoming more true, more authentic, more true to myself. I'm dropping the mask. You see, if we were to combine all of the current works of music, of art, of literature, of movies in Western culture at the moment and say, what is the great theme of our day? What is the great overarching message? We would find this simple idea, which is that the most important thing is to be true to yourself, to be authentic, to follow your own heart.
Follow your heart.
But what we really mean when we say that is that our emotions, our impulses, are a sure guide as to what is right for us. Now, I don't know if you've ever met, like, a human before, but if you have, you will know that that's an insane idea. That's deeply unwise.
I mean, you have met humans before, right?
Our emotions are all over the place, our impulses will bounce around everywhere. They are a terrible guide of what is right. But this is the truth of all truths for our day, and everything else must be sacrificed and laid down at the altar of pursuing your quote-unquote true identity. And if we look at how this is played out with Chris, that's exactly what he's done. Firstly, I mean, this guy was married, he's going through a divorce. Him becoming transgender is obviously part of the reason why. And even if it wasn't the original reason, and we don't know what the original reason was, becoming transgender guarantees the end of your marriage. So he has sacrificed his marital vows and his marital happiness on the altar of his feelings. Secondly, he's clearly willing to sacrifice the YouTube channel and his friendship with the guys who run it. He hasn't done the noble thing and said, well, this is clearly controversial, I'm going to step away so I can deal with my own issues without affecting the channel. Rather, he's stayed there. Now millions of parents are going to question whether or not their kids should watch this channel anymore because they don't want this normalized for their children, and quite rightly they should stop doing so. But also Mr. Beast can't get rid of him because number one, he's going to feel like a bad friend if he does so, and he's tried to stand by him, and I actually understand that, I have sympathy for that. But also if they do let him go, or even if they minimize how much he appears in the videos, he is going to get cancelled by the far left.
Cancel, we're cancelling it.
So not only is he willing to sacrifice his marriage, he's willing to sacrifice his friendship and this YouTube channel for these feelings. And finally he has a child. Now he put out a tweet saying, look, I'm ultimately doing this for my child. And rather than me just disagreeing, let's just look at the evidence. Children who grow up in single parent households are much more likely to commit crime, they do much worse at school, they're much worse financially off, much more likely to take drugs, much more likely to end up in prison. They fare worse in every single area. And of course there could be an abusive home situation, I'm not talking about that, but that's not the case here. So he's willing to put his child through that to pursue these feelings. Furthermore, do you think it's better for his son to have a father who embraces a lifestyle that will lead them to have a 42% attempted suicide rate? Do you think your son wants you to take all these drugs and shorten your lifespan and get osteoporosis and mutilate your body so that you can pursue these feelings? I don't think so, and whether he knows it or not, he is willing to sacrifice the well-being of his son to pursue this lie of authenticity. And yet, in spite of all of the evidence to the contrary, our world would say that he is doing the right thing because he is being authentic, and that is all that matters. So allow me to give the Christian response to this. Firstly, of course you should be authentic. You're not supposed to be a hypocrite, you're not supposed to lie. It's just that our world has no idea what authenticity really means.
I have no idea what that is.
And I believe there are two ways that we are called to pursue authenticity. There's a lower one and a higher one. Let me give you the lower one first. One of the key differences between humans and animals is that we are not slaves to our instincts. We actually have an option in what we want to do. And being authentic for us is not merely to run after our feelings, but it is to have an ideal that is outside of ourselves and to pursue that, often at the expense of our feelings. And that is being authentic. As a Christian, we're called to do a lot of things that we don't actually enjoy that much. I don't know anybody who actually enjoys the physical feeling of fasting. I don't know anybody who enjoys being mocked for their faith. But doing it anyway is not being inauthentic. A parent who stays up all night looking after their sick child, even if they don't feel like it, is not being a hypocrite. They're pursuing something more important than their feelings. And that is the first form of true authenticity. It pursues values, not emotions. And that is an authenticity that is absolutely worth having so long as you do have the right values and the right ideals. Which brings us to our second, higher way of being authentic. When we talk about authenticity outside of humans, what are we referring to? We're normally talking about like a piece of art or a sculpture or a banknote or something like that, right? An authentic Monet, an authentic Caravaggio, an authentic Jamie B YouTube production. But we actually know when it comes to other things that being authentic cannot merely be found in the object itself. It is a reference to the one who created it. It's speaking about the original design, the original intent, the person who stands behind this thing that was made. And that's true for us as well. Being authentic is not being true to yourself. Being authentic is being true to the God who made you. When people say they're going to step away from God's design, when people say they're going to step away from God's commandments in order to be authentic, they are in fact becoming less authentic because they are denying the one who created them and who makes them authentically human. And that is the highest form of authenticity. Authenticity is pursuing your created purpose, which you don't get to decide, by the way. God gets to decide that for you. And just in case there's any doubt as to what that created purpose is, let me give it to you. You were created by God, male or female. And like the rest of us, we've fallen into sin, we've become enemies of God, and we've become deserving of death. And there was a death which was experienced for you, but it was experienced for you by Christ himself, by God come in the flesh. And he died your death, and he bought you with a price so that you could be reconciled to God. And I know it's unlikely that Chris is going to watch this, but maybe someone like him is watching. And to you I would say this: it doesn't matter how far down this track you've gone, or how authentic to yourself you think you're being. You're not. You're not being authentic, you're not being true to yourself. This is not you taking off a mask, this is you putting one on. But I want to tell you that in Jesus there is a way back to being who God has called you to being truly authentic. Thank you so much, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you would like to support the channel, please grab something from wearecontramundum.com. You can also support on Patreon or PayPal. Like and subscribe and ring the bell and all of the stuff that everybody tells you to do on YouTube. Don't smash the like button, you'll damage your computer, just press it normally. And if you want to look more into today's identity crisis that is rocking the West, this next video is essential.